Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Try this again. Shabbat Shalom. Much better. Here's a question. What do you think is the single greatest contribution that the Jewish people has made to the world? How would you answer that question? Would you say that it's the idea of monotheism? Or would you say that it's Jewish humor? Would you say that it's a higher morality derived from Torah? Or would you say it's the recipe for matzo ball soup, the cure-all for all of man's ills? Personally, I believe that the single greatest contribution to humankind that Judaism has made is the concept of Teshuvah, the idea of repentance and the possibility that that penitence would be accepted. Because without it, relationships will always remain log-jammed. And people will wander through their lives in search of a different path, a new way that will not be offered to them. In an age such as ours, where Google retains all knowledge of wrongdoing, and social media keeps a record of every accusation, true or false, as well as a record of every severed relationship, this is a topic worthy of our attention. And Teshuvah also happens to be the theme of this morning's Torah reading. Acharei, after the death. After whose death? Well, it's after the death of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu. We learned weeks ago that these two young priests had ventured into the Holy of Holies with a strange fire, an Eish Zarah, something not commanded by God in the Torah. Perhaps it was a vestige of idolatry brought from Egypt. What is clear is that they died. They went into the Holy of Holies, they offered this strange fire, and another fire that came from God took their lives. So here, the two sons of Aaron lay dead by the will of God. And naturally, we would wonder what is going on in the mind of Aaron, the high priest. Had Aaron done something to mislead his sons? Had he set the wrong example? Had he not explained the laws to his sons clearly enough? Had his sons died because of Aaron's sins regarding the golden calf? Or had God acted capriciously without mercy? Surely the God whose attributes tell us that the Lord is Rachum v'Chanun, merciful and compassionate, could have found a different way of showing divine displeasure. Could have found a different way to punish Nadav and Avihu without incinerating them. How is there any hope that either God and Aaron the high priest will find their way back to one another? How is it possible that reconciliation, that repentance could actually happen? These questions form the essence of our Torah reading this morning, Acharei. After the death of Aaron's sons, Aaron is given the tools to find his way back, to God and to himself, contained in the rituals of Yom Kippur and embedded with that gift of Teshuvah, of repentance. Here, Aaron is offered the opportunity to return to God, and in so doing, publicly being accepted back by God. At the heart of the rite of Yom Kippur is not a change of attitude alone or a prayer, but an action that shows a desire to right the wrongs of the past, to find a new way forward. Aaron, the high priest who had suffered the greatest loss that any person could endure, was the one who was called to appear publicly, to enter the Holy of Holies, that same room that Nadav and Avihu had died in, and there pray in that most sacred of spaces, to speak the holiest name of God in an act of repentance. And Aaron's efforts were rewarded. Teshuvah was granted. This portion of Acharei Mot is a powerful reminder that none of us need be consigned to permanent rejection for our misdeeds. We can turn. We can act with sincerity. It is possible to find forgiveness with God and perhaps also find forgiveness to those that we have wronged in this world. Now I ask you, is there anything more hopeful than that? I read a modern story of Teshuvah this week that inspired me to speak about the subject. It concerns one of the best-loved authors that America has ever produced, and one of its great illustrators, Theodore Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss. Geisel was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. He was of German-Jewish ancestry. He took the pen name Dr. Seuss while at Dartmouth and quickly began a career as a cartoonist. And then in 1940, he celebrated his first commercial success, a children's book entitled Horton Hatches the Egg. But then the war came, and Geisel was devastated by Adolf Hitler's rise to power, and he was outraged by America's initial ambivalence to it. So he turned his pen loose and created cartoons, searing analyses, warning of the consequences for America if they continued to ignore Hitler's threats to the world. He openly castigated the moral failure of the United States. Now, once the war began, the Defense Department hired Theodore Geisel along with people like Stan Lee, who became a very famous creator of superheroes, and other cartoonists to take part in the war effort through patriotic animation. While the propaganda served the war effort well, as it stirred up the passions of Americans, Geisel's drawings of the Japanese were overtly racist. In one particularly ugly cartoon, Geisel drew hordes of Japanese Americans playing to every racist stereotype, coming by the thousands from Western United States. And they were all standing in a line in front of a booth where a fellow Japanese person was handing each one of them a package that said TNT, dynamite. The name of the shack, the Honorable Fifth Column, while another Japanese man was looking across the water through binoculars, waiting for their signal to attack America from within. Horrible. And what a bitter irony. Geisel was portraying Japanese Americans in the same way that Jews were characterized in Nazi Germany. Dangerous, enemies of the state, people not to be trusted. Well, the war ended, and Geisel went back to his cartooning. But in 1953, Life magazine invited Dr. Seuss to visit Japan in order to write about the effects of the war on Japanese children. Accompanied by Mitsugi Nakamura, the dean of Doshisha University in Kyoto, this beloved children's illustrator and author traveled around Japan and met with the country's children. And in each place he went, he asked the children to draw what they wanted to be when they grew up. These drawings made a deep impact on him. And when Geisel returned to the United States, he expressed his deep regret for the biased image of the Japanese that he had helped to instill during the war. He expressed his remorse to make Teshuvah using that same pen which he had during war years used to demean the Japanese, but now to offer a different story. It came in the form of an illustrated children's book called Horton Hears a Who, a book that many of you are probably familiar with. It tells the story of Horton the elephant who attempts to save the tiny town of Whoville, which rests on a speck of dust. Not all that different from that tiny island of Japan in comparison to the United States. As in his previous book on Horton, the elephant's efforts encounter slander and giggles from his animal friends. When some of them attempt to harm Whoville, Horton and the mayor band together to rescue it. The book contains subtle hints and references to World War II. The most notable example is the black-bottomed eagle that drops the tiny town of Whoville from the sky, a clear allusion to the 2 atomic bombs dropped by the United States on Japan. In the story, the most vociferous and cynical animal is the kangaroo. Eventually, the kangaroo acknowledges his own ugliness and comes around and says, how true, said the big kangaroo. And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you. From sun in the summer, from rain when it is fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish. Dr. Seuss, who had dehumanized the Japanese in wartime, came to terms with the ugliness of his work when he saw the drawings of those Japanese children, imagining a different and better future. His Teshuvah embodied the most famous sentence from the book. A person is a person, no matter how small. Dr. Seuss dedicated the book to Mitsugi Nakamura, his guide on that tour of Japan, the man who accepted Theodore Geisel's penitence. This is why I believe Teshuvah is the greatest gift of the Jewish people to the world. It can change the trajectory of people's lives. It can change the direction of the relationship between nations. It allowed a path for someone who had used his artistic gift to do something that was ugly and hateful, and use that same gift and turn it around to create something that was beautiful, with a timeless message that continues to impact the lives of children to this day. From a Jewish perspective, it is the purest of Teshuvah. Moreover, in 2021, Dr. Seuss Enterprises continued that act of Teshuvah and took 5 of Geisel's books out of circulation because they contain offensive images of people of color and a variety of other racist stereotypes. I wonder if Dr. Seuss's apologia in the form of Horton Hears a Who would be acceptable today. Would people be willing to see the sincerity of Geisel's apology or the way that he shows his own change in the form of that kangaroo? Or would people say that his privilege prevents his teshuvah from really being true? Would people say that he was America-splaining, a deep and terrible sin that cannot be forgiven? Would others say too little or too late? And what of those who would say that Seuss should have never apologized, as it shows a weakness in America and an affront to the First Amendment of our Constitution? If that is the case, then our nation is the worse for it. And rather than embracing that moment of penitence, as Mitsugi Nakamura did, as a moment of hope, it becomes instead a moment of hopelessness. We began this morning with the story of Aaron, who lost 2 of his sons and yet opened himself up to a relationship with God again. We began this morning with the story of a God whose sanctuary was sullied by idol worship, but offered Aaron the tools to make teshuvah and then embraced him upon his return. The portion of Acharei serves as a reminder of the power of teshuvah to forge a different and better future for all of us. It is the gift that God gives to humanity. May we, like Aaron, may we, like Theodore Geisel, have the wisdom to embrace its possibilities. Amen.